Our next speaker is Mona Eltahawy. She's going to be speaking on the price of defending freedom of expression. Mona Eltahawy is an award-winning journalist and international public speaker on Arab and Muslim issues. Newsweek, where I'm a columnist, named her one of its 150 Fearless Women of 2012. And she's also a woman with all of the right enemies. I've followed her career from afar as she has stood up to both Islamic fundamentalists and radical Islamophobes in the United States, to authoritarians of all stripes. So I'm so happy to welcome Mona Eltahawy.
Thank you, Michelle. Hello, everyone. The Black feminist poet Audre Lorde said, "I have come to believe over and over again that what is most important to me must be spoken, even at the risk of having it bruised or misunderstood. My silences had not protected me. Your silence will not protect you." My talk today is about breaking silence and the price that we often pay to break that silence. The first person I met who very courageously broke a silence was a woman from southern Egypt I met when I first began my journalism career in Cairo. She had come to Cairo to attend a human rights conference that was held by the Egyptian Organization of Human Rights. And she ran a soda stand, a kiosk, in southern Egypt. And one day, the Egyptian police came and asked her to come and testify against a man that they said was a car thief. She refused. And the price that she paid for that refusal was that they took her to the police station and sodomized her with the leg of a chair. This was a woman in her mid-60s. This was back in 1990 in Egypt, and her friends told her, "You must go to Cairo and speak with the Egyptian Organization for Human Rights because they can help you." And this woman refused to be silenced at a time of great fear for many people who spoke out. She came to Cairo, I met her case was documented, and I often repeat her story because I firmly believe that this woman's courage and her determination to break silence is one of the many small pockets of courage that eventually led to the start of our revolution in January 25th, 2011, because revolutions do not begin overnight. Revolutions take that kind of courage and take people like that who refuse to be silenced. If we fast forward to the revolution, which I believe continues, it is not yet over. In November of 2011, a group of young men and women refused to be silenced by the Egyptian military junta, which ran our country at the time, and the Egyptian police force, both of which very violently broke up a peaceful protest in Tahrir Square. And so these protesters went onto a street that is now iconic for the Egyptian revolution called Mohammed Mahmoud Street. I used to take this street every day when I went to the university I attended, the American University in Cairo. So for me, it had a lot of emotions involved. And I hadn't arrived in Cairo yet when these clashes began, but I was reading and crying at reading the fact that boys as young as 12 joined these clashes and would write on their forearms their mother's phone numbers in black pen so that if they died at the morgue, the doctors would know who to call. Because we were hearing of bodies being dumped into the garbage and unclean bodies in the morgue. As I said, this moved me to tears, and I returned to Egypt to join these clashes. And I almost died, as many other people did. 40 people did die. I survived. Egyptian riot police entrapped a friend of mine and I at the front line of the clashes. They beat me and broke my left arm and my right hand. They sexually assaulted me, and I was detained for 12 hours. 6 hours by the Ministry of the Interior and 6 hours by military intelligence, who interrogated me with my eyes blindfolded. And I was refused medical care for 12 hours. Now, when my arms were broken, I realized that as a writer, because I had been a journalist and a writer all this time, that my main tool, if you like, of communication, which is words, had been taken away from me. So how then do I break the silence of what happened to me when I'm sitting there with both of my arms in a cast, only able to use a finger on a touchpad? The way that I broke the silence was to realize that my body was the message or the means by which I can break that silence. And so I went on as many media shows as I could to speak very openly about the sexual assault that I survived, because I knew that many other women had survived sexual assault and could not break the silence for whatever reason. I understood, I respected, but we had to break the silence. The Chicana feminist, Gloria Anzaldúa, very famously said, and these words I deeply treasure, "I will not glorify a culture which injures me, and which injures me in the name of protecting me. And this was the reason that I insisted on speaking out against the sexual assault that I survived. And what happens when you challenge your culture like that is that you realize that your body is often used as a battlefield between the two sides, both of whom are male. And I would get messages from Egyptian men who would say, "Dear Sister Mona, we're so sorry about what happened to you. We will not rest until we avenge and restore your honor." And in order to reverse that idea of my body being a battlefield, I would write back to them and challenge that culture and say, "Dear brother so-and-so, I thank you for your message, but you owe me no apology. The men who violated me owe me the apology, not you. And I assure you that my honor is intact, and together, Egyptian women and men will restore Egypt's honor." Thank you. That is my sincere wish for the revolution in Egypt. But the revolution travels with us. The revolution isn't just in Egypt. The revolution is everywhere. And I have spent the past 12 years of my life in the United States. And the revolution for me in the United States is to end the bullying of Muslim Americans for 9/11. We did not commit 9/11. I have nieces and nephews who were born in the United States, and they're going to grow up to be very proud Egyptian American Muslims, as I'm very proud of my Egyptian and American aspects of myself and my Islamic faith. And so last year in September, when a racist and bigoted ad campaign went up on the New York subway, I realized that that was my revolution. Now, the ads said the following: "In the war between the civilized man and the savage, always choose the civilized man, support Israel, defeat jihad." I was very, very pissed off with these ads, and the way that I determined that I would confront them, they were considered protected political speech. I love the First Amendment. I want a First Amendment in Egypt. I do not want to ban hate speech. What I want to do to hate speech is to recognize, first of all, that it's hate speech, but also recognize the consequence of hate speech. And make racism and bigotry socially unacceptable, not from the government, but from us, the community. And so I went and sprayed over those ads, one of the ads, with pink spray paint. I chose pink because of my nieces, who were born in the United States, as I told you. Pink has a bad reputation. I love pink. Often it's associated with princesses and little girls. What is wrong with little girls? Nothing is wrong with little girls. My two nieces are fierce. My two nieces are more than just princesses. And I sprayed those ads because I want my nieces and nephews to grow up being proud of being American Muslims. When my arms were both broken, I determined that once they were healed, I would dye my hair red, because it's a fierce color, and I would get tattoos on both arms. And to honor those boys I told you about who wrote their mother's numbers on their arms in case they went to the morgue, I got this tattoo because I consider her my mother. This is the Egyptian goddess Sekhmet. She's the goddess of retribution and sex. Now, I often say that that means that she will kick your ass and then beep your brains out. I sprayed those ads because she's also the mother of my nieces, because they're not just princesses, they're goddesses. 5 days after I spray painted those ads, the mosque, my brother's local mosque, was set on fire by a man who took hate speech and made it into a hate crime. And this is why we must fight racism and bigotry. And my nieces and nephews were in the Sunday school in that mosque just 5 or 6 hours before it was burnt. So the revolution travels with you, whether it's in Egypt, whether it's in the US, whether it's in Malaysia. And the revolution is to stand up to hate. The revolution is to say that we will be fierce in fighting hate, and we will be fierce in fighting against silence, and we will break that silence because, as Gloria Anzaldúa said, speak with your tongues of fire and put your shit on paper. Not just on paper, but on racist ads and against authoritarian regimes. Thank you very much.